Welcome to SBF and our video journal for the Way to Wonderland box room. This is where I started. I put lots of notes because the ceiling was going to be the floor, or the floor of the ceiling. I made sure I noted really well. And like our other rooms, I also did areas that I knew I was going to put glue to under the paper. Like right there is going to be where the window thing is hanging. And yeah, here we go. Talking ahead of myself. So I made sure I put glue in certain spots so that those things would hang up with more strength and not fall off, because I ended up doing this with wrapping paper, which is not very strong. Here I'm just again making measurements and planning ahead for where my upside down door is going to go. We have these sides here. They easy come, these hinges. This is from the Way to Wonderland playset. Those easily come off with screws. And I want to make it open, so I'm conscious of that. Then we have these hinges here, which I'm not too fond of. So I'm going to end up trying to cut those off. And let me tell you, when I do, be very, very careful. I do not recommend this for kids at all. It is like whittling, and it was a slow process and careful process. I can't stress that enough, because you could very easily cut yourself getting that hard plastic off. In the end, it does work out. So next, I start putting on my wrapping paper. This is a simple wrapping paper, nothing special. And here you can see all the glue and where it is around the edges. Like I said, the same as I've done from step 3 on all the Ever After High rooms. Try my best to make the glue be in areas where it is not going to show, where I can hide it. I will tell you, wrapping paper is not the most fun to work with. And, you know, planning ahead, I had a lot I was going to do to this to hide what doesn't work necessarily as good as the scrapbook paper does. So now looking at it, I'm paying very good attention to my notes so I know which way I'm going. And that's up and down anyway. And then on the sides, I'm going to do it left and right, just so it has some bit of difference. And again, I folded that over so maybe my glue wouldn't show so much, so when I butted it up against there, I could hide the little mistake I made in there that I punched through the wrapping paper. And yeah, not fun at all, but worth it in the end. I used the tacky glue, of course, that's the best. And here you can see I got it up on the left and the right, and that goes either way depending on which way the room is. The door has been whittled down for those hinges very well. I'm happy with that. I had this piece of scrapbook paper around for underneath, so I'm just going to trace that to make something within the door. I almost would have preferred the weird circle-y kind of stuff, but I would have had to go to the store to buy that. And I thought, you know what, I'm getting a headache from these colors already. I didn't think that. Yeah, I just decided not to do it. And so there's the background to my door ready, set to go. And then here I had this scrapbook paper and this one's cardstock, a lot nicer to work with and easier to glue on. It pretty much fits all the length left and right. It has the glitter on it, so after I use my sticky glue, stick it on as usual, line it up. A lot of this is the same. Oh no, obviously I had a little space in the middle, but I had a plan for that, so that works out okay. Now I've cut out that behind the door scene to put in there. I've matched it up so it fits and shows on the inside of the door but doesn't overlap. It is a little teeny weeny short on the bottom with how it was 12 inches. Cut that way on its own, so I'm going to make sure I'm aware and accommodate for that when I put it up. Yes, here's my notes, always keeping track of my notes. And then we have lots and lots of cards. They're just a pack of cards from the dollar store. Really inexpensive. And you can see I got the top glued up, which is the bottom. I can't tell you how much I had to look at my notes to make sure I didn't mess up. So this is what would technically be my ceiling paper. Again, I have this around. I just was happy enough to find something red for the Queen of Hearts type thing and something that matched up well. So that's good. So I'll just glue that on just like the rest. That ceiling paper glued on perfectly well, even though it's really the floor. And yeah, are you confused yet? I certainly am. but it does happen. So now I got my door here, and I'm mapping out my little entrance with the checkered felt, and I'm making sure I got enough to the left and right of the door, make sure it's going to fit. Just use scissors to cut that. Later I'm going to be very sure to glue that felt perfectly where the door sets on it, because that's where I'm going to get my best and most strongest grab for it to hold on. Now I have some cards, and I'm just planning ahead. You can see some of the glue is showing where it's stuck on the wrapping paper. That'll be covered by the cards. Now, of course, I do love my glitter, but don't want it all over the place. So I am absolutely positive here to take the time and use my Mod Podge and cover all that up. It did get in my, the glitter got in my brush, and I had to make sure I didn't mix that with others. At the same time, I was doing Courtleigh's room, and I did get some in her floor, but that was okay. A little bit of glitter in her floor didn't hurt. So yeah, I do that all around. I think I used 2 different sheens because I ended up putting a whole coat of it as well on the ceiling and on the walls, just so that paper wouldn't rip easily off. Give it a little more strength in case it gets bumped. It doesn't. So here I'm giving you a really thorough view of how I do the Mod Podge on the glittered papers. So yeah, oh, it looks like that ceiling's already been done with the Mod Podge. And what else am I doing here? I'm not quite sure what I was trying to show you. Oh, I think I'm telling you. Yeah, definitely do some of this on the walls too. Yeah, there it is. See? It's so funny because I'm watching TV, or Alex is watching TV while I'm doing this stuff. See how it bubbles when you do it? Never worry, because it does settle down after it dries. It mostly settles down. So yeah, now I can see. So I'm tracing out the door so I know where to put the cards. To be very resourceful with my cards, I cut them diagonally in all different ways. Just give me something to do, and maybe so I can spread them out if I needed more cards. In hindsight, I didn't really have to do that, but in the same sense, the glue does not stick so perfectly to those shiny cards because of the wax on it. So it did help that my glue later with the background, that piece right there, ends up sticking better to the wrapping paper than it does to the cards. So I think that was worth it, even though not necessary. So here I'm doing a little more matching up. And now I got them up, and I'm happy with that. Showing you once again that I'm constantly looking. You all know I'm visual, so I keep on looking. I thought, oh well, let's put a couple over here because we got this wall that you don't know which way is the floor or top bottom, so hey, why not do that? When I did put those up, like I said, that wax wasn't the greatest. The sticky didn't work well, so I put hot glue and sticky glue just to assure myself that these cards and things that stuck to these cards were going to stick well and not fall down on me later. So here I'm working on more cards for what ends up being, of course, the ceiling. And since I'm here, I might as well make the ceiling look extraordinarily good, especially because this one's going to be kind of high in our dollhouse display. Right there is where I was showing you, or I am showing you, what I was talking about earlier, to make sure I had that glue really well attached in the back for that door to attach onto it and hold well. The rest is not so much concerning. Of course, I've used my duct tape around the edges, so my cardboard box has a little bit of style. And then now I have some trims, so I'm going to play with these trims. Still making it seem like you don't know which one's the top and which one's the bottom, and making them go opposite each way. Here was the left and right. I put it on there so that would seem like, okay, you further don't know, is that the ceiling or is that the wall, or the ceiling or the floor of the side walls. But yeah, this one took some mental thinking. My paper here was just a little bit short coming through. Probably most people wouldn't notice, but I do, so I just used a little Sharpie to add like 1/8 of an inch of black there so it would not, show the edging at the bottom of the door. So now I have some puffy paint, and I'm just gonna trim that out real nice with my puffy paint so it doesn't look like just a raw ending, especially because you're gonna see that a lot when you look up. And again here, a floor which you don't even really see. And to bring it together with the other rooms, I'm using the same puffy paint I've used along the baseboards in all the other dorm rooms, and I'm going to have put it around the bottom. Now I guess I'm just giving you a little look here. before I do that. So now I guess I'm hiding my gap here too. That would make sense. You just never know with these boxes, they could be slightly off. Remember, keep your puffy paints stored upside down, or at least put them 10 minutes before you use them. Put them upside down on something so that all the paint's at the bottom and it won't spit out at you and make a mess. So here's another thorough view of me showing you how I do the puffy paint to fill little cracks, crevices, and make things look nice. Now we have my handy dandy caulking, clear caulking. It's always clear. And this is how I attached the door. A little bit of a process. Now on the bottom, remember I said that I was really good about that felt being secured. So I'm assuming that my best catch and best hold, especially when we turn this upside down, is making sure I have that setting. So that's why I put so much. And here, what do we got going on here? Oh, aren't video journals fun? I take things and video them. I think I'm just giving you a show. And I just know later I'll figure it out and tell you what I'm doing. So here now I've pressed that caulking in place. And you can see it's squirting out the sides. And I just wipe that with my finger. I'm filling in those left holes. I'll cover that later. I have my masking painter's tape here holding it on just to the cards. I was very sure not to put on the paper because I didn't want the wrapping paper to rip. Making sure my door still opens, which it does. And then I set that overnight to dry so that it could get the best strength it could. And oh, okay, it looks like when it's dry, I'm going to put a little layer. I'm going to take the tape off and put a layer of that, a bead of that caulking around, which I've shown right here. Does it work? Yeah, it works. Hi Marta, I'm doing this video journal and I see you popping up a comment on my notifications. So I use some puffy paint, gold puffy paint, to fill in those left hinges that are gone now that I unscrewed off. You probably won't notice that, and then again, that's me just being thorough and being me. Now I'm adding a second coat of Mod Podge to anything. I always like 2 coats, just a thing. Makes me feel better about that. Looks like I took some of that sequin trim and put that around the felt as well. Here now, of course, I just have these things around. I'm going to start getting these stands repainted. You understand why, to make the shoes pop more, make it blend in. And I'm just going to use my 123 Bullseye primer and then spray it with some red I had around. I think I quickly am showing you the fabric, the houndstooth that I'm using for the windows. And I'm reminding myself to not put them the right way, to put them the wrong way. And even those, when I iron them, I made them not quite right. Because it's Wonderland, of course, right? So here you can see the bead of caulking I did in there, which goes on clear. It has a bit of shine. For the most part, it doesn't show. So that has given me, I'm feeling confident now. This door is not gonna fall off. It's gonna stay. Yeah, I'm practicing and swatting it around so you can see that all the work put into that is very well. But of course I want to add a little extra, so I happen to have this sequin trim around from my scrapbooking supplies, and I'm going to outline that. Not needed, but I then further thought I'm going to have a little more fun and go all over the place. So here's where I'm showing you I ironed those really strangely, 2 folds on one side or and one on the other, just to make them a little off. And here I'm showing they go upside down, and I did put some glue on the bottoms so it wouldn't fold over when you turn it upside down. As weird as that sounds, remember I've placed those ahead of time so the glue is underneath the wrapping paper, so that won't fall or rip off either. Here's the stands. It had the regular red spray paint, like I said, I just had left over, and then I took a coat, put a little dry brush with just another color pink to tone down some of that red. And here was the final step, which was the cards. And I don't know, maybe these could be done a whole lot more different. You could really get creative with this, but here's the basic process of what I did. I just put some sticky glue on it and then formed them, wiped it so it kind of, I just made sure I mushed it in. I show that in a second. I mushed it in so the glue would be right. Now these are fragile. I dropped one on accident and it did fall apart. So they're definitely not for child play, but it works. Here we go. Now I'm mushing. and then I just with that sticky glue, it actually stayed in place really quickly, and then I just pushed it aside and let it dry overneath. When I attached, dried overnight. When I attached them to the ceilings, I used museum wax, and those are staying on really well. So here's the final room with nothing in it. Like I said, great ideas for you. You can change it around as you wish, of course. And here it is with the dolls. Do check out the tour. Shout outs to some of our wonderful SPF family. Y'all have a wonderful night. Thank you very much, and see you next time.